Here's the full story draft in one continuous narrative, family safe, emotional, and monetization compliant. My son had a 12-inch problem at school, so I stepped in to help. A true inspiring story. When I look back on the countless moments of motherhood, there are some stories that stand out in ways I never could have predicted. Not because they were the most dramatic or the most painful, but because they taught me something about patience, compassion, and the quiet ways our children remind us how much they need us. This is one of those stories, and it all began with something that might sound a little silly at first, a 12-inch problem. My son, Ethan, had just turned 12 years old, and like many boys his age, he was still navigating the awkward transition between childhood and early adolescence. He was bright, curious, and funny, but he was also easily embarrassed, especially in front of his peers. One day, he came home from school unusually quiet, his shoulders slumped in a way that instantly told me something was wrong. As a mother, you learn to recognize the subtle signs long before words are spoken. When I gently asked him how his day had gone, he hesitated, fiddling with the zipper of his backpack before pulling out a large cardboard box. Inside was a clumsily taped-together science project, a model he had been assigned to create for his 7th grade class. The problem? The thing was enormous. A towering 12-inch model that, while impressive in effort, was bulky, crooked, and impossible to carry without drawing unwanted attention. Everyone laughed at me. "Mom," he muttered, his voice barely above a whisper. My heart clenched. The 12-inch problem wasn't the project itself, it was what it represented. To Ethan, it was a symbol of embarrassment, a reason for his classmates to point fingers and giggle. He felt exposed and humiliated, as though he had failed before he had even tried. I pulled him close, letting him sit at the kitchen table while I examined the project. I could see the effort he had put into it, the way he had tried to glue each piece carefully, even though the final result was a little uneven. To me, it wasn't something to laugh at. It was something to be proud of. That night, after dinner, I suggested we work on improving it together. At first, Ethan resisted, worried that I was just trying to fix what he saw as a hopeless disaster. But as we sat down with glue, scissors, and extra supplies, something shifted. Slowly, he began to laugh with me as we found creative ways to reinforce the cardboard, decorate the sides, and stabilize the structure so it wouldn't topple over during his presentation. It wasn't about making it perfect, it was about showing him that mistakes are part of the process, and that sometimes the best solutions come from teamwork. The next morning, I woke up early to help him figure out how to carry the project without it feeling like a burden. We found a sturdier box to hold the model, added handles, and even used an old strap so he could sling it over his shoulder like a bag. Ethan looked doubtful, but when he saw himself in the mirror, standing tall, ready to face the day, something in his posture changed. Walking him to the bus stop, I could tell he was nervous. The memory of the previous day's embarrassment still lingered, but I reminded him that confidence wasn't about never failing, it was about showing up anyway. That day, when he presented his project in front of the class, I wasn't there to witness it, but later that evening, Ethan came running through the door, his face glowing with pride. "Mom, they loved it," he exclaimed. His classmates had been curious, even impressed, and his teacher had praised the creativity of his design. In that moment, his 12-inch problem had transformed into a 12-inch victory. What I learned from this experience was that our children's struggles, no matter how small they may seem to us, are monumental in their world. A crooked science project, a clumsy mistake, or even a laugh from the wrong person can feel like the end of the world. But when we meet those struggles with understanding and support, we give them the tools to turn embarrassment into resilience. That problem became a reminder for me too. Life hands us challenges in all shapes and sizes, some bigger than others, but the way we face them determines the outcome. Ethan taught me that even the smallest victories deserve to be celebrated because they plant the seeds of confidence that will carry him into adulthood. Years later, when he was preparing for high school, Ethan still remembered that project. He teased me about how silly we looked sitting in the kitchen with glue all over our hands, laughing at our crooked construction. But then he said something that made my heart swell. "Mom, I don't think I would have had the courage to present that project if you hadn't helped me. You made me feel like it was worth finishing." And that's when I realized the truest lesson of all. Sometimes, as parents, we don't fix problems. We simply stand beside our children as they learn to fix them themselves. That's the story of how my son had a 12-inch problem, and how together, we turned it into a 12-inch triumph.